I'm working.
So we're going to venture into the 7 steps of winning multiple offers. And it's important right now. We know that it's definitely a seller's market. Inventory levels are low, and Joel has proven himself to be quite the businessman. So I want to give you some stats on him. Joel went into the business about 2006. Certainly that wasn't the best time to do real estate for those of us that may have been in the business during that time period. Coming from a marketing and advertising and communications background, Joel has pursued the mastery of persuasion and influence for over a decade now. He is one that's running a top 1% producing team out of Chicago. And in 2020, he sold $40 million and over $1 million in GCI. And at the time that he and I started communicating, which was back early in June, he had won 49 out of 55 multiple offer situations. So if you can imagine, it's tough down here in Southern Illinois. You can't even fathom how difficult it would be in Chicago with so many buyers up there. So he's just winning. And I really do appreciate the time. I got to tell you, a lot of speakers that we hire to coach us charge us money. And Joel is doing this from the kindness of his heart, trying to raise all ships within Keller Williams. So I am so grateful for your time, Joel. And the one thing Joel has asked, if you can, let's turn your cameras on, open up your mics, and participate as much as you can and get as much as you can from this class. So with that, Joel, I'm going to turn over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Rick. And I got a heart from Kate, so that's like already feeling yours. So yeah, you are going to get my heart, my energy, my soul, 15 years of curated process. And all I ask is for your heart, energy, and back. So it's okay if somebody isn't in a place where it's appropriate to turn on a camera. But I even love, even if you're not interacting, it's okay, Marianne. So it's quite all right. I love even just seeing either smiles or confused faces or laughs. Because sometimes that actually may uncover either a pain point that we need to dig into, or making sure that, hey, like, what was that? When sometimes the gems are the ones that are unscheduled and unplanned, right? So for those who can join with your camera, join with your heart, join with your energy, what I will say is I need some interaction. Who wants to be in charge of my participation award?
Yes, you do.
So, and I can't just be relying on Rick. So I need my participation specialist. And then at the end, what I will do is I will be sharing my email at the very end. So you have to stay. And then if you send me an email, and I'll repeat this later, you're going to send me an email with your favorite part of the presentation and then something unique about yourself. That way I can remember who you are. And when we have clients moving out of Chicago come into your neighborhood, that helps me remember you more when we send referrals. And then when you send that email, I'm going to send you 3 things. It'll be a link, which will have the talking points of the presentation. So yes, please take notes and interact, but you'll get all the talking points of the presentation at the end. You're going to get a list of questions to call a listing agent when you're about to present a multiple offers, presents an offer, and you're going to get an email template, which I'm going to talk about later. So 3 high value things that right away you're going to get to be up and running. So before I jump, my intention is that 30% of you win at least 1 more offer this year, and that way you guys can increase your income and increase your happiness, your joy for the work you're already doing. Can't just, when somebody's ready to make an offer, you've done the hard parts. Now you just got to secure it. So little test in the crowd here. Give me a 1 in the chat if you have been in a multiple offer situation, and a 2 in the chat if you've never been in a multiple offer situation before. So we got some 1s already. All right, so lots of 1s. Any 2s? Anyone first timers not being in? Okay, great. So we have some multiple offer veterans. Now this is going to be a loaded question. Give me a $sign if you want to win more of those multiple offer situations in the chat. Okay, man. Okay, there we go. So that's a big one. We got lots of multiple offer situations to win. Sheila thought that was amusing. I did as well. So yes, we can all agree that if we can take away one thing. Now, what this is going to be, none of this is going to be rocket science. What is going to be is 7 specific steps that you can take. And I encourage, Sure, you can do just one, and if you can only do one, that's the number one I'm going to teach. But this is about doing all 7 every time. And once again, this is not just because this is something that's fun to do. 49 out of mid 50, we have won multiple offer situations since tracking. I wish we started tracking this earlier, and we have not always been the highest price. So winning more offers with the time you're already spending. So number one is when you are going to present an offer, whether it's a multiple offer or not, give me a chat. Actually, see it in the chat box. A 1 if yes, you call the listing agent every single time before you make an offer, or a 2 if you don't. So if you call the listing agent before you make an offer every single time, a 1, and if not, 2. And it's okay to be a 2. All right, lots of 1s actually. So whoever's doing your training is good. There have been times where Sheila, are you in charge of training?
Partly.
I have done some of that, yes.
Great, awesome. So I can't tell you how many times I've gotten 20 offers on a listing and only 1 agent called me. Like 1 agent called me, right? And guess what? Who do you think won that deal, right? So now they did have to present the best offer, but how do we know what the best offer is if you don't know? So this is what we call, step number 1 is what I call prospecting for information call. This is how can I find information that I'm not supposed to know? How can I build rapport with the listing agent? And how can I make sure that I understand what a seller wants before I present? We all agree that if somebody can get more of what they want and we can easily give to them, that helps us win. Give me an exclamation mark in the chat if giving people what they want is a better way to win. So Becky knows what's up. Exactly. So in terms of, this is about, I said 3 things: getting information you're not supposed to know, building rapport with the listing agent, and then finding out what's most important about the seller. So anyone want to be in the hot seat to do a little role play, a little 1-minute role play? Who's excited? I see Kate's energy already. Who wants to be in the hot seat for a little role play? Joseph?
I'm ready.
All right, so now we want to make sure that you don't give away any confidential information. So have a listing or a seller in mind per se, but don't share the actual address. I want to make sure we respect client confidentiality. But let's say that you have a listing and I'm about to present an offer. So ring, ring.
Hello.
Hello, Joseph. This is Joe Holland with My Chicago Resource, Keller Williams, One Chicago. Was calling on 123 Main Street. Is that property still available?
Yes, it is.
Great, Joseph. I was just curious, thank you so much for showing it to us. You said it's still available. Have you gotten any offers on the property yet?
I've had about 3 offers.
About 3 offers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And where are you at with those? So it sounds like you're in a multiple offer situation. How is the seller handling this multiple offer situation?
They're kind of mulling over all 3 offers, kind of going through and seeing what maybe the best one would be for them, because they do want to get the most out of, their property.
Yeah, exactly. So what would you mention? What the best would be for them? What is the best for them? What does that mean to you, Joseph?
I think they're trying to get like the top dollar, because they're trying to get in and move into a new house, and the top dollar is what they're looking for, because if they think if they get the top dollar on the property they're in, then they can get the new property they want and then have a little bit of extra money to put into the new home.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Joseph. Yeah. So getting the top dollar so they can find the next place. Have they found the next place yet?
They're actually still looking.
Okay, they're still looking. So they want top dollar, but they also don't know where they're going yet. What would you say is top dollar? What does top dollar mean to you, Joseph? Right, so we'll just put a pause right there, right? So you can see, so a couple things. I saw Rick was smiling at that one. So a couple things. There's 3 main strategies that I'm using here, and this is actually some references. If you guys want to take some notes on what do I do now after hearing the 7 steps of winning multiple offers. Language of Sales, taught by Ron Wexler. It's a KW Maps coaching class. So for those of you who are here who are part of KW or not, you do not need to be within Keller Williams to get access to Keller Williams Maps coaching. This was done, I've attended twice, and then also we rewatched it 4 times. This is using embedded language and how to say the right thing at the right time. One of the most influential sales classes I've ever taken in 15 years. So it's called Language of Sales. Really important there. So there's a lot of different specific sales techniques. Then I'm also doing two things called mirroring and labeling. This is from Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss is one of the foremost negotiators and considered one of the top FBI negotiators in the US. He wrote a book called Never Split the Difference and runs a team called the Black Swan Group that teaches sales techniques. Some things like I was repeating some of the things that Joseph said, right? Top dollar, find the next home. So that does two things. One is I'm repeating and acknowledging. So I'm building rapport. And actually, when I'm mirroring my pace and tone with Joseph from an actual psychological perspective and a neurological perspective, we're actually getting more on similar brainwaves. So typically that prospecting for information call can sometimes be 10 to 15 minutes. I want to be in tune, in sync with Joseph. And the more we are, the more I'll understand him, and the deeper I'm going to get, the deeper I'm going to go. So mirroring and labeling. Oh, it sounds like they want to get a good deal, right? Oh, it sounds like it's important they find the next right place, right? The most important thing is I'm digging deep with words and things that Joseph is already putting out there, and I'm taking them and pulling them in there. So a top dollar, if this wasn't a group setting, I would have really pressed Joseph on a top dollar. And sometimes I would have asked 7 different times in 7 different ways. What does top dollar mean to you? Well, okay, does that mean if you got 500K, does that do it? What's the lock it up price today? If we can offer, are you working with escalation clauses? Those other 3 offers, are there financing? Is it cash? What's the most important closing date, right? And so there's all these additional questions I could be asking. And then the only thing I can guarantee that every single phone call and every single email you ever make, if you can interject more humanity into your approach, you will win. Joseph, wow, sounds like totally they want to get top dollar and want to find the next place that they're looking to go. Why are they moving? Sounds like you care, right? Sounds like you can actually you really care about where they're going to go. Walk me through how do we get them excited to find their next place? Know they have the right amount of money. Listen, I get that we want it. The buyers want the lowest price and sellers want the highest. How do we get more in line with what you need and make sure we actually close a deal? Because offering the highest price at a deal that's not going to close doesn't get them to the next house, right? So just approach it with care, humanity, empathy, mirroring, labeling, listening. Other questions can be like, reading between the lines, right? So something I'll talk about later in step 7, they haven't found a place yet. Well, guess what? These sellers who think they're on the top of the mountain in a multiple offer situation are about to be buyers in the same market and about to experience the same stresses. So what if we said, hey, Joseph, you mentioned that they haven't found a place yet. How much time do you need? Do you think that they need to find the next place? What if, no matter what offer we can give, not only will we match price, but we'll give them an extra 20 days to find their next place? That's more powerful than ever before. They're about to become stressed, unknown buyers, right? But I don't know that if I don't have this call, because if they've already found their place, that's a completely different emotional appeal and approach. Do we agree? Give me some head nods if we agree with that.
Definitely.
Great. Any questions on that? That is part 1 of the things I'm going to email, is what we call it prospecting for information. That when you do email me, you will get a list of some prospecting for information questions to ask and to call. I can't stress enough, if there's only one thing you can do the prospecting for information. Any questions on that?
Actually, I have a quick question.
Yeah, Amanda.
Keep in mind, I just completed my continuing education, so now I'm a paranoid wreck about what I can and cannot say.
Yes, indeed.
So as you were going through some of that stuff, I'm a buyer specialist, so I'm really interested in what you have to say. How much of that, that just seemed to me that you're kind of on the line there, but not really, because what you were asking for was not confidential information. But what's a good guideline there for that?
When you say on the line, what do you mean by that, Amanda?
As far as the listing agent being careful about sharing confidential information about the sellers.
Absolutely. Amanda, you're exactly right. There's a lot of information that the listing agent should not be sharing. And I'm not in trouble for you sharing that information. Right? So, so you're exactly right. My job is to get you to completely break your fiduciary responsibilities to your client. Not that I'm trying to be doing something illegal. It's that if you're willing to tell me, I would love to listen. And I cannot stress. I used to record some of these phone calls when I was starting my team, and there was an agent who it took me 7 times to ask them what price we were going to get. And it was like, okay, you know, what's the price that's going to be? And they're like, I can't tell you that. Okay. If we came in between 340 and 360, you know, how would you feel about that? I can't share with that. Well, where did you get your pricing? Well, you know, you got to look at the comps yourself. Totally get it. If we offered 350, would that be exciting or not? I don't know if I can do that. Let's say if we came to an offer tonight and said, I need you to accept tonight, what's the get it done price? If I offered 352, would you get it done? And they're like, give us 345 and we got a deal. And it's like, great, you know, and we were willing to offer 10K more, and then they threw in a grill. Like, and this is a real conversation that happened. And so it's amazing what list agents tell us. Even we say, hey, why are they moving? Seems like a really simple question. 90% of agents will respond like, oh, why are the sellers moving? You know, they're having a baby, they're expecting their new kid, oh, great, and that's so exciting. When do they do? Oh, September 1st. Oh, is it a boy or a girl? Like, oh, you know, how many kids do they have now? Well, guess what? I'm going to share with you in part 2 why that's all really great information. So yes, Amanda, you are exactly right. I don't want to cross that line. I want to wreck through that line. I want to throw you over the cliff, because guess what? I want to win. And the whole purpose of this, within the law, within reason, and within license law, the goal is to get you all an unfair competitive advantage. Okay? Do we all want an unfair competitive advantage for our clients? Give me a hell yes. Heck yes, excuse me, for those of you who have sensitivity on language. So, yes, Joel is a bad man. I prefer there's 3 types of negotiators. You have combative, you have collaborative, and then I always forget the third, but it's the one that's like docile and is the one who's going to be much more reactive. I can never remember the third because it's not in my vocabulary. And so my goal is to win through collaboration and helping you get what you want. And at the same time, let's say if I call Amanda and say, Amanda, what are the other offers? They're going to say, okay, well, I can't tell you that. Amanda, can we all agree that your job is to get the seller the best price possible? Well, all I'm asking, I'm not saying that you have to tell me the price. Can you ask your seller for permission to share what the top dollar is and what the other offer is? And if I know the information, I have a higher chance of getting the buyer to present that offer. If I just tell them the highest and best price, that's a known thing. But if I say, hey, you're going to win at 351, can you ask your sellers if you can share that information, right? This will make you look better and get them a better deal. And that's what you want, right, Amanda? Well, guess what? Through collaboration, I can still get information that I'm not supposed to know. But if I'm empowering you to still get the best for the seller, which isn't always price, because what if I can offer a lower price, but I can offer you 20 more days to find Joseph's clients the next place, right? What if that's more important for a seller? I want to see in the chat, like, what are some unique things that sellers tell you that they want, right? Yes, sure, price is most important. Aside from price, what are some other things that have come up in your experience that is really important for a seller? Give me some options. Either unmute yourself and shout it out. Put it in. Okay, lender. So that means, financing, right? No closing as a no closing sale contingency. Easy close. What does easy mean? Does that mean not a first-time buyer? Does that mean someone who's going to be cash? Right? Appraisal concerns, financing concerns. So these are all real issues. I've had a seller come to me and say, hey, we've had a deal before, an experience in the past where it was a nightmare. Like we didn't have enough time to move because the buyer's financing was shaking. So yes, I want a good price, but I just want an easy deal. Like, I'm moving to Boston. I want to know it's for sure and a done deal. I'll take a lower price for guarantee. That's really important for me to know as a buyer's agent, right? Yeah, someone to buy the furniture because they didn't have to move it. Like, I've had somebody say that's the most important thing. I have somebody say, I have 2 kids and I'm working from home. I'm freaked out about how to do showings, right? So then maybe I can say, hey, here's a deal, no more showings, right? So these are all different emotional things. We always talk about the features, right? The feature is the list of, fill in the blank. Here's the price, here's the closing date. Well, can we all agree that if I say, hey, here's an offer for $500,000 and June 30th closing versus here's an offer that is 15K over asking, which means you're gonna have more money to buy your next place, and we're offering you an extra 20 days to make sure that you're not stressing out in the market so you can find your next dream home. Can we all agree that one is logic and one is emotion? And bold rule, for those of you who are not part of KW, this is the rules that logic makes you think and emotion makes you act. So this is gonna be touched more in part number 3. So part number 2, right? Number 1 was prospecting for information. Number 2 is a cover letter. Now, this is sometimes where I get yelled at by a managing broker. So as a fair housing disclaimer, please make sure that you are adhering to all fair housing. But this is when presenting an offer, we are encouraging buyers to submit a cover letter or even a video, which is going to say, hey, we are the Kelly family. We love the house. Here's 3 specific things that we love about the house. Here's why we can see ourselves living there. Now, the fair housing disclaimer is if you have photos, if you talk about familial status is a protected class, right? So a lot of managing brokers are saying, do not present a cover letter to a seller, because if you don't accept somebody, then you can be, there could be concerns of fair housing. And at the same time, listen, you're looking for an unfair competitive advantage, so it's better to include it and not have it be presented than not include it at all. And I would encourage incorporate it into page 1 of the offer. Don't have it as a separate attachment because it's too easy for the seller not to see it or it not to be included when the listing agent is forwarding the email to the sellers. So have it be page 1 of the offer. I can promise you that a listing agent isn't going to delete it as page 1. And if you're going to spend the time to do it, then do it now. And guess what? Don't wait until they're ready to present the offer. Coach all of your buyers right now. If you are working with a buyer right now, 2 things. You're going to call them and say, hey, by the way, let's do a little refresh on what are we trying to do? What are you looking for? What's most important? Has anything changed in your life since? It's always a good touch point anyway. And then 2 is, hey, can we all agree that once we find a place, we want to be more prepared faster? So let's write 80% of that cover letter now of who you are, here's why you love a neighborhood. And then once we find a specific place, we'll fill out that remaining 20%. And maybe go deep. Like I've had somebody who, I'm selling my in-laws place. And we found out that both my in-laws and this buyer loved cooking. And so we went really deep talking about cooking and all these exciting things. And it became a highly, 6 offers within 72 hours on a $2 million property. And so this is highly competitive. And guess what? We went with a group that made us just feel really good, right? And so including something that helps the seller feel really good. We've had some times where someone's like, this was me 7 years ago. They're going to the same school I went to. That's why I bought in here. So if you can find an emotional connection, sometimes sellers are willing to take a lower price. Any question on that cover letter? So including a cover letter along with your sellers to bring humanity, bring personality into a decision, not just list of names and numbers and prices on an offer. Okay, ready to move on to 3? Part 3 is, well, we talked about presenting an offer. Well, we need an actual template to present an offer. So that's something that's also going to be, if you email me, I'll include a template that has one. I've had agents, this is the 7th time I've done this presentation throughout the country, from offices in Idaho and Minnesota, you guys in Southern Illinois and St. Louis area. I've had text messages and emails saying multiple times hey, we were one of 8 offers in this group and here. And the reason that the listing agent reached out to me and said our offer was the only one that had this summary template and our offer really stood out. So can we all agree that if there's 20 offers, the easier you make it to stand out, the easier it is to get noticed or at least a phone call back, right? Rick's giving me a head shake. Everyone's getting some head shakes, yeah? So once again, it could be a simple thing. How do we get noticed more? Well, so having an offer template is going to help make it, I can't tell you how many times I've just gotten the forwarded DocuSign. It says, please DocuSign X, and it's just a forwarded email from DocuSign. No information about the offer, about the buyer, no phone call. It's just a forwarded email from DocuSign versus somebody who's going to send me an email with the email subject saying, purchase, offer for X X address, and it's going to say, hello, Rick, thank you so much for showing us the property, or thanks so much for your time on the phone earlier today. We're pleased to present the following offer. Here are the main points summarized for ease of discussion with your seller. We're offering you $10,000 over asking, which means, or the word because or which means is one of the most persuasive words in the dictionary. There's a book, 50 Scientifically Proven Ways to Be More Persuasive, also a great book, using A/B testing on actual scientific methods on persuasion. The word because will actually sometimes increase your chance of persuasion by 50%, right? If somebody cuts in line at a store and just says, hey, do you mind if I cut in front of you? Versus, hey, do you mind if I cut in front of you because my kids wait in the car, they're about to have a meltdown, I need an extra 2 minutes, like, can you be a great person, right? And because helps connect action with humanity. So I'm not going to say we're offering 500,000. Hey, we're offering 10,000 over asking, Joseph, because you mentioned that that top dollar was important for you. I heard you. I recognize you. I'm connecting actions in line with emotion. We're offering you a September 1st closing date because you said that you needed some time to find your next place, or you said that your baby is due end of September. So we're offering you a closing date a month before, so you have a full month to get settled into your new house. Right? Whatever it is, I'm using information that I wasn't supposed to know or someone else doesn't know, and I'm integrating that into the offer template. If I'm going to do something like as is or waiving the appraisal, well, don't just have it be on the offer. What does that mean? We're offering as is, which means less chance of this deal falling through and less chance of the sellers, getting excited and then choosing the wrong group. We're waiving our mortgage contingency, which means after 7 days, you can go shopping with confidence, Joseph, right? These are all things that I'm integrating the benefits to the client and making it very clear, right? Thank you, Tina, for saying love that. What is, Tina, is that something you've ever had experience with before on either side? I'm gonna call you out on it because I want to see some more videos and faces. So, but honestly, some faces, I need interaction another way. I'll let you off the hook for now, Tina, but maybe next time. So anyway, once again, we're integrating humanity and benefits. In that offer template, we're also just, it's quite all right. In that offer template, we're also going to say, so we've summarizing the deal and making it very clear what the benefit of the offer is. Then we're also going to be moving on to part 4, which is part 4 is still part of the offer template, but part 4 is, can we all agree that if you have an unknown agent who you've never met with before, who only does 2 deals a year, versus an agent who you've done 5 deals with before, or that sells the most in the area, one can maybe be more reliable than the other in a highly competitive multiple offer situation? So you need to sell yourself. Now, if you are that agent who's only done 0 deals or 2 deals, then leverage your office stats. If you are on a team, leverage your team stats. If you have a great track record, then leverage your own stats. There's a big difference between saying, hey, here's our offer, thanks so much, let us know, versus saying, also, we just want to let you know that when you accept this offer, this isn't just saying yes now, this is saying yes to a closed deal. Last year, we closed 42 million. We helped 225 people move. We close deals, not just make offers, okay? So that is also, there's always 2 things in sales. Everyone's great at selling benefits. We all know how to sell benefits, okay? What's the other most important thing we need to do to make a sale or to get a yes from somebody, right? We have selling the benefits. What else?
Yourself.
Okay, selling yourself. What do you mean by that?
You have to basically present yourself as like the person that they can trust. And
okay, so you need to trust you. And if they don't trust you or they can't trust you, then how does that make them feel?
if you can't be trusted, then they're going to move on to the next person.
Right. So they don't want things to go poorly, right? So you have the benefits. You have to remove fear or you have to remove risk. So we're all great at this first part of the funnel, and we have to be much better at removing fear or removing risk. A deal falling apart, financing falling apart, a nitpicky buyer who's going to renegotiate, an agent who doesn't know what they're doing, who can't control their client, right? I need to make sure that I'm addressing that concern. And so a huge concern, and we always think that multiple offers are great for sellers. It's really stressful, which group should I choose? Which group should I go with? Because I don't want a deal to fall apart and then all those groups are gone. So, Tina mentioned, right, being friends with a lot of agents. It's much easier to get information and leverage that other agents won't get. And it's much easier to be like, hey, listen, Joseph, we work well together. Like, I may not be the highest price, but I'm going to get you this deal closed. You know that, right? There's much more value in a good team that's going to close and make this deal easy and get these sellers to their next house. Now, I forgot to mention it in part 1, but I just said get these sellers. Did I say get your sellers? And earlier I said the buyers. I didn't say my buyers. Anyone have a guess on why that is? What's the difference between my buyers and my sellers versus the buyers and the sellers? Great. So Marianne removes you from the transaction, removes you emotionally, right? Ownership. Alicia, thank you. Yes, ownership. There's a big difference between, all right, it's me and my buyers versus you and your sellers, right? And all of a sudden we're combative, right? And sometimes agents get emotional. Sometimes agents get reactive. And then it's like, I've had agents who be like, oh, we're not interested in getting a multiple offer situation. This happened on Monday. I'm not interested in getting a multiple offer situation. He's like, this sucks. And so I was like, oh, have these buyers gotten into a multiple offer situation before? Oh no, this is their first, but all my other deals have been it. So like, we don't want to get into one. You don't want to get into one, or the clients don't want to get into one, because that's a big difference, right? So if we can help the other agent remove themselves to be emotionally connected to the outcome, then we can all win. So it's not me and my buyers versus you and your sellers. It's, hey, Joseph, this is you and me against that buyer and that seller. How do we collaborate? Listen, you got a buyer who wants to buy. I got a seller who wants to sell. Joseph, how do we work together on this? What do you think we can do? How do you think we can win? Got 3 other offers. Okay. How do we win with you, Joseph? What do we need to do to get this deal done? Right? Listen, we can all agree. What do we have in common? We want a deal to close. We want the clients to be happy. We want to have a good experience with each other. And we don't want to hate each other. Joseph, how do I do that? What do I need to do that? Let's make you look like a rock star.
Close the deal.
Great. How do I close that deal, Joseph? What do I need to do to close it? Right? And so all of a sudden, are Joseph and I combating on opposite sides, or are we working together as a team to try and find a win-win? We talk about win-win at Keller Williams all the time. Well, what does that actually mean? That means approaching things with care, humanity, and what you have in shared interest, right? Yes, exactly. I don't know the first name, T Denman, and welcome T Denman to the video. So yes, right. I have a deal right now with an agent we're under contract, and the buyer is asking for unreasonable credits. And I just straight up just said, listen, I'd much rather, we ended up getting that backup offer. Make this easy for me. I'd rather work with you than somebody else. And all of a sudden I got them backpedaling now, right? So, well then, welcome back, Tina. So the more rapport you have, like, people want to do business with people that they trust or that they don't fear, right? So making sure that you're actually addressing that in that cover letter. Okay, so that was 3 and 4 of selling yourself. Any questions on cover letter and offer presentation? Great. All right. So we have part 5 for those of those situations when we have a lender or financing. We just talked about risk and fear. We all underestimate the fact that a mortgage contingency, which is very common, says, hi, I'm a buyer. I don't know if I'm going to get a mortgage for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So dear seller, how about you take all the risk, and this deal is completely contingent on me, who you don't know, getting a mortgage in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Is it okay if you put your life completely on hold and have no confidence for the next 6 weeks? That's what we're asking people to do, right? We just kind of, it's assumed to do it. So cash isn't king. It's that cash gives certainty earlier. We can remove risk earlier. So if we're going to give a seller a spoonful of risk, we have to remove that fear. So what are some ways we can get a seller to feel less fear when we present an offer that has financing? I want to hear some people what people have done to win before, or strategies that have won before. What can we do to get a seller to feel less risk or fear?
Proof of funds,
Okay, great. Proof of funds, right? More information that can help you make a better decision. What else?
pre-approval letter.
Okay, so pre-approval letter. Pre-approval letter can mean a lot of different things, right? So what if, is there a difference between, if you, especially if you get 5 offers, one is a pre-approval letter and the other, the lender calls the agent and says, we've already done credit, we've done, I know you got the pre-approval, but we've already ran credit, debt to income is awesome, this is a solid deal, even though it's not cash, it's as good as cash. These are clients that have been all in, they've gotten me all the pay stubs, they've gotten everything. And guess what? I've also closed as a lender, I closed 200 million last year, and we can get you clear to close in 15 days. What can you do to work with me here, right? Can we agree that that is something that maybe another group isn't doing? So yeah, I mean, exactly. If we can send a buyer through the first stage of underwriting, we're just giving the seller less risk. So how do we replicate that if they haven't been able to do that? So I have a lender who is offering a clear to close in 10 days, right? So now I'm going to make sure that that lender calls that listing agent and says, we'll get you that, right? So yeah, so exactly, the lender calling the listing agent directly, that's exactly what we're talking about, Rick. So Rick is working at a next level already. You know, so that's exactly what this is about. If you can't offer cash, having the lender call directly. And it's not enough on its own, right, to win, but when combined with those other things, we can, especially if on that first number one, the prospecting call, we've heard that financing is a sensitivity, or if we're competing against cash, right? How do we make our offer stronger without offering more money? Well, this is a great way to do it. Any questions on that? So you're selling yourself, you're selling the lender, not just the terms of the deal. We talked about how to make a better offer without just offering the highest price. We're going to talk more about that in step 7. But so for part number 6 is we got to offer the right price in the first place, right? Let's not be subtle about this. You have to offer the right price to win a multiple offer situation. It doesn't mean you have to be the highest, but we have to get close, right? So do you guys have InfoSparks in your market or integrated into your MLS? No InfoSparks. So what do you guys do or use to go over like data? Like if you have a buyer who needs to understand, hey, where's this market going, trending data, things of that sort. Do you guys have any tools like that?
Yeah, we have RPR, we have Remind, and Matrix.
Okay, so one is there's something called InfoSparks, at least in our market. Be an advocate to your local board or your real estate data source so we got market stats. So we have something called InfoSparks. It should, on a click of a button, I can say in this zip code for 4-bedroom properties, 3-bathroom homes, I can just a click and click and click. I can see price trends, I can see closing trends, I can see supply trends, I can see days on market trends, all within a click of a button. So it's okay if you don't have those InfoSparks, but whether it's market stats, whatever it may be, before you can look at price, you have to understand, is the market going up? Is the market going down? Is inventory going up or is inventory going down? Are days on market going up? Are days on market going down? Especially in Chicago, there's a big difference between selling a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom in a high rise in downtown versus selling a 4-bedroom single family home in the suburbs right now. So one is increased. So, maybe you're also your local, like we also have fast stats through through the Chicago Association of Realtors that does like weekly stats. Whatever you can do to start with more macro, hey, here's what's happening with the market. Because what do? We all look at relevant sales or comps, right? When we do a CMA, well, we're looking at data points that are specific moments in time. And typically, right, we're looking at something that closed a month ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago. But if that offer closed 3 months ago, if it closed 3 months ago, that offer was made 1, 2, or 3 months earlier. So we're sometimes looking at data that's 1 up to 9 months old. Well, when this closed here and the market was going up versus the market was going down, can we all agree that that's a different projection that we're going to do? So what happens is when looking at the price, we say, well, here's what happened 1, 3, 6, 9 months ago. And so we're offering somewhere here. But if the market is going like this, we need to offer here because we have to predict where the market is going, not using where the market was. And same the opposite, right? I have to predict where the market is going here. So when somebody says, how am I supposed to offer 15,000 over any comp? Because if the market is here, 15,000 over every comp is 1 to 3 months old data. Maybe it's not overpriced or that you have to offer higher. It's just that the data hasn't shown up yet. So using that data, whether it's week by week stats, looking at inventory, the differences between detached and attached housing, the more you can educate your clients and have them feel comfortable through data and not convince them. So, hey, listen, Kate, this isn't about convincing you on anything. This is about helping you feel comfortable. Let's look at the stats. Okay, well, it looks like the market is rising and all the homes sold at 300,000 in the past, and the market's increasing by about 2 to 3% per month. So where do you think we need to offer ahead of the schedule so that way we're not offering, on old data? What do you think we need to do here? And we're using collaboration and information in order to help predict where we're going to go.
Joel, can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know what's probably burning through a lot of agents' minds right now is that conversation with the buyer. Are you then having the conversation about if we do offer over asking price based upon the trend, how are we going to cover if it doesn't appraise at that value? Or is that when you're interjecting that piece?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 2 interjections of that piece, because as a buyer, I'm worried about appraisal, and as a seller, I'm worrying about appraisal. So hey, how do you combat appraisal? So first is I'm going to come back to a strategy I talked about is labeling. Rick, it sounds like you want to make sure that we're not overpaying, and that if we're gonna make an offer, we want it to close, right?
Right.
Well, first is if it doesn't appraise, there's one of 6 things that can happen. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but we have options. And that's also the concern is, which I'm going to talk about in step 7, some tricks on how do we combat that fear and concern. So I'll just jump into that right now. Well, you're exactly right. If the last sold comps were at 450 and 475, and we're listed at 500, and somebody offers us 550. Well, we may still end up at 500K. It doesn't matter if somebody offers 50,000 over asking. And maybe that's a buyer's strategy. I'm just going to offer so high above asking. I know it's never going to appraise, and I'll just renegotiate later once I'm the only one at the table. So how do you decrease the risk of a deal not coming together without just increasing your price, which can increase the risk of not appraising? So there's a strategy of what if instead of offering 5,000 over asking, we'll do 100% tax prorations instead of 105, 110. What if we pay your closing costs instead of offering a higher price? So there's different ways that you can if a buyer is willing to pay 10,000 over asking or 5,000 over asking, instead of just increasing the price, which increases the risk of it not appraising, we're trying to trade value, right? So there's different ways that we can trade value. Have a buyer paying a listing agent's commission, having a buyer pay the seller's title fees, right? There are different ways that you can hide or tuck away price that doesn't increase concerns for appraisals. So that's part 1 of, hey, I'm willing to pay it, but what if it doesn't appraise? Part 2 is I don't want to overpay. Great, I don't want you to overpay either. Nobody wants you to overpay. So guess what? Sounds like you don't want to overpay. We always have the appraisal. So if you're concerned about offering 10,000 over asking, you still have the lender that will help make sure that you're not overpaying as well. So sometimes it's just acknowledging the buyer's concern. Yeah, I don't want you to overpay either. And don't worry, you have a safety net down the line.
Got it.
That answer enough, Rick?
Yeah, it's great.
Great. So there's the 2 things, right? Going over data and stats. And you need to go over those data and stats before you look at the relevant comps, right? And then part 2 is how do we get someone to emotionally navigate, hey, offer your highest and best. What does that even mean? Does anybody have a winning script? If I tell a buyer, offer the highest you can offer, what does that mean? Sure, I can offer $1,000 more. Or how anyone have any winning scripts or short? I'm talking about under 30 seconds or less. does anyone have any winning scripts or dialogues that they have with buyers to help them emotionally get through the concept of understanding offering highest and best? I see lots
No,
of-
I would like to say I have this great script, but I come prepared that we have already had discussions prior to any offer on what their maximum is.
Mhm.
So if we have come to a decision to offer less than that maximum, then I say, okay, we're in a highest and best situation. And I know a week ago we talked about that this is your ceiling. This would be the time now that we reach that ceiling if you truly want this house.
Yeah.
That's kind of the script I pull out.
Yeah, so Rick is doing it, it's much easier. I say it's always easier to put out a fire if imagine a pile of leaves that are about to catch on fire. What's easier, to douse some water on it before they catch on fire, or to control the fire once it's already lit? So Rick is doing a two-step approach to help address some concerns before it even becomes a problem, and that's a great approach to make sure you're doing a two-part step talking about price. Tina, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Oh, I believe you are still on mute, Tina.
I am, sorry. I use the word comfortable a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I just tell buyers and it depends on the type of buyer. It seems like people who are at the lower end price points are the ones who are more nervous than the ones who are at higher end price point. And first time home buyers don't get the process. So that's a huge thing with educating them. So I just tell people, highest and best doesn't mean $1 million over asking. It means, what are you comfortable doing? Where are you comfortable price point wise? And we have that conversation to kind of help them through that. And that not getting emotionally attached to the house is really important. And you do your best. You make your best offer that you feel good about, that makes you comfortable, that you think the seller's gonna like, and then we just pray.
Exactly. Well, I typically say when a client says let's pray, I have much better strategies than just pray or hope. So the room got it right. Pain versus pleasure. So the best emotional script, if you guys, here's my script alert, is Tina. What is the price in which I came back to you tomorrow and said, Tina, I'm sorry we lost it. If I tell you lost it, and we lost it by $1,000. What's that price where you won't say, I should have offered $1,000 more? And then what's the price in which if I say, Tina, congrats, you got it, you aren't saying, uh-oh, I got in over my head over my skis. So what's the price where you won't have a regret if you lose it by 1,000? And if you did get it, you'd still feel comfortable. Right? And they're going back to the comfort word. And that's one of the only pain versus pleasure scripts I've been able to find that's the most succinct to walk people through, because I can always offer 1,000 more. And also it's about letting them understand what $1,000 more means. Sometimes 5,000 can seem like a lot. At today's interest rates, every $1,000 in a purchase price is about $3.75 a month in carrying costs. So say, listen, are you willing to offer $1,000 more or $5,000 more? Versus, hey, this is gonna be $20 more a month if you offer 305K, that'll get a win. Are you okay losing this over $20 a month? Well, no, I mean that not at all. I can easily do $20 a month. Great. I don't think 300K is gonna do it. 305 is gonna do it. So are you comfortable with that? Yeah, I mean $20 a month feels comfortable. Great, let's do that.
Okay.
So reasonable, comfortable, and then pain versus pleasure. And really, it's helping them understand what does $1,000 or $5,000 more mean. And so coming back to like, hey, this is your ceiling or your max price. It's also digging deeper, always asking one extra question. So, hey, if this is your max price, are you more concerned about your down payment or your monthly affordability? Well, different clients are going to have both. They may say both. Okay, totally understand. Both are important. What's more important? Would you prefer higher down payment and a lower monthly cost, or are you okay with a higher monthly cost and lower down payment? Because what if two properties have different tax rates? Different taxes. What if one property has an HOA and another one doesn't? What if another one has 15-year-old mechanical system and one is newer construction? It's going to have different utilities. What if one is near a flood zone and one doesn't, and flood insurance can be different? So if I can understand also what your ceiling means, how many times do buyers get emotionally stuck on a psychological arbitrary price point, right? I want to offer 300,000. May I ask, where did that number come from? Well, it just, because I saw a different place at 300,000. Well, okay, well, we didn't get that one. You decided that place was too small, right? So let's not focus on 300,000. This costs 1759 per month. Are you guys okay with 1765 a month? Yeah, I mean, that seems totally reasonable. Okay, then let's offer 307, right? So walking them through what the monthly payments are sometimes really important. Yes, Alicia, exactly. Alicia. So pain versus pleasure, right? So when you say he's saying no to 301, that means, are you guys okay? Meaning that we're going back to the drawing board and we may not have a place for the next 2 weeks. Because it's easy to say no to something we know. You know what, I'm just not comfortable with that. Okay, so it sounds like you guys are saying is you're okay that we're gonna be coming up to the line and maybe have to extend your lease. What we're saying is by saying yes, if I've had a seller who says, hey, we wanna take the property off market because I don't wanna drop the price. Well, you said that the reason you want to sell is because the HOA, the homeowner association the monthly dues are way too expensive. So what you're saying is you're willing to continue to overpay each month in hopes to get a higher price later. Well, when you put it that way, no, that's not what I want. Okay, so let's adjust the price now so we can get you one step closer to using your money more smartly, because that's what you want, right? And so now those are all language of sales techniques where I'm learning what's important for the client up ahead, earlier on, and then re-interjecting what they're really saying. And then using what's called a tie down at the end, right? It's not that a seller wants the lowest commission, but what it sounds like is you want to net the most, right? Well, by actually hiring me at X%, even though it's a higher price, my stats in this neighborhood show that I can get my clients 4.53% higher and 64 days faster. So we'll actually help you sell it faster and for more. And that's what you want, right? So are you ready to move forward? And so using the pain versus pleasure and making sure that you understand that time can also be a large factor of it is a great way to connect actions and emotions. Thank you, Alicia. So we're on to step 7, which we've actually already talked about half of them already. So I'm glad, and I always try and make this under an hour. So we've 6 minutes left for Q&A and this last portion. But we talked about how to make your offer stronger without offering more. So we talked about earlier as is. We talked about mortgage contingencies and appraisals. Mortgage contingencies, at least in our offer template, it has pre-written 45 days or 5 days prior to closing. Do you guys have that same thing as well, or something different? Do you have a fill in the blank?
We have a fill in the blank or 10 days before closing.
Yeah, so ours is now written as 45 days after acceptance or 5 days before closing. And every single seller I'm representing and I get that presented, I'm having that buyer scratch that off and write in a specific date. And even though we're not supposed to do that, I don't care. The earlier the more, I care more about the mortgage contingency than the closing dates, because if a client doesn't know where they're going, they need to know as early in the process as possible. So having the earliest mortgage contingency possible. If a buyer is only putting down 5 or 10% down, that can be hard to compete with another group that's offering higher. So how do I coach? If you have 2 offers, one's at 500,000 and 20% down, and one's at 505 with 5% down, who do you choose? How do you know how to choose? How do we take risk, a completely unknown, unquantifiable piece, and compare that against a totally quantifiable number? At some point, 500,000 in cash versus 505 finance, 510 finance, 515, what's that number? Well, I'm going to coach a selling agent through that conversation if I can't compete. If I have a buyer who's offering 5% down or 10% down or FHA or VA loan, and I'm competing against cash or someone, I have to coach my buyers the buyers, not my buyers. I have to coach the buyers that they have to offer higher. Well, how do I do that? Hey, Rick, walk me through. The place is worth 500,000. The taxes are 12,000 a year. On average, walk me through what are the sellers' rough monthly closing costs? Carrying costs, right? About $3,000 or $3,000 a month. Okay, yeah. So Rick, I know that I'm not, we're offering 5% down, which means you may have some concern that the deal may not come together. Well, let's say you accept our group, right? And you have some concerns of the deal falling apart. 30 days from now, we can't get the loan. So you're off market for 30 days. You have to go back on market. We know you're going to get multiple offers again, but let's say it takes another week or 2 to sell it. and then that new buyer offers you a 45-day closing. So we have 45 days plus 2 weeks, so that's 60 days plus 30 days for our deal to fall apart. That's 3 months. So Rick, if and your monthly carrying costs are $3,000 a month, if I can offer you $9,000 higher than a cash offer, do we win? I'm paying for that risk. The worst case scenario is the deal falls apart. It'll cost you $9,000 worst case scenario. If I can offer you $9,000 more, can we win?
Yes, that's brilliant.
Right? So I can't assume that a listing agent knows how to coach a seller, how to understand and conceptualize the risk of what the buyers that I'm presenting are offering.
Wow.
Great. So I'm going to leave it at that. There's still some other tips in step 7 in the talking notes. I want to leave it open for, so exactly. So waiving inspection is another great one that'll be in the as is or waiving the inspection. If I do have a buyer waiving the inspection, I'm going to have them kind of sign a disclaimer via writing or text or email, just saying, by the way, I'm advising, I always suggest you do an inspection. We can waive the inspection contingency, but still do an inspection as well. So just because you waive a contingency doesn't mean you can't do something, or you can waive a mortgage contingency but still get a mortgage as well. So other tips and tricks that you can do, things like earnest money. If I can't offer more money, increase earnest money, things of that sort to help you win. That is all that I have for you. I said I always promise to be under an hour. So any questions? Any questions or thoughts here? Yes, Tina having a contractor come up, right? You want to make sure that we don't have any questions ahead of time, or they don't have to come a second time, because there may not be time for a second time. So any big takeaways, questions, thoughts, some Q&A that I'm happy to hang around for with you guys.
Hey, Joel, can you put your email in the chat box?
Yes.
Because I know you want everybody to email you their favorite part so they can get that information.
Yeah, favorite part and something unique about yourself. Favorite part, something I could do better, and favorite part or something I can do better, and then something unique about yourself so we can get to know you. And then you will get a link as soon as we have a chance to reply with the talking points, with that offer template, and with the prospecting for information calls.
And guys, the only thing I would ask is Joel volunteered his time. And I would just ask, if you get a referral for the Chicago market, please think about Joel. You'll have his email. You'll have that on file. Shoot him a referral. He would love the business. And likewise, to get something for St. Louis, he'll think about our market center.
Absolutely. And so you've all seen that naturally, you will realize that when you send me a referral, I have a high skill and tactician to send you that referral check, because we know that we're going to close that deal. So if you send me a buyer, we're going to win. And if you send me a seller, we're going to get that property sold, send you that referral check, and help them make sure that we can get them to your market faster, sooner, with more money to spend on their next home.
Love that.
All right, I'll keep it open for a few more minutes, unless we're all good. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns, any pain points someone's experiencing right now?
All great information.
Great, thank
Really
you,
good.
Joseph. Helping you win more offers means buying a vacation home in Key West for you, Joseph.
Yeah, Key West was a great time. It would definitely be cool to have one down there.
Yep. So Tina, what he wants in the email is your favorite part of the class, something unique about yourself, something that he could do better in his presentations. Okay. Joel, sir, thank you very, very much. Would you like a copy of this recording?
Sure. Yes. Thank you for asking.
Yep, we'll get that to you.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time, your energy, your heart, your soul. And send me some messages if you win one. If you use, whether it's a one or multiple, send me those text messages or the emails of you winning. That fills my soul to know that I'm making a difference for your life as well. So thank you. Good luck. Go win those multiple offers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Joel.
much, Joel.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now. Thanks.
Bye.